Hello, knockouts. Tonya Tko here. And you all know me. I'm a self-love specialist and relationship expert from TonyaTko.com. I hope you learn to love yourself and each other. Today, we're going to be talking about the displacement, and I plan on this being the very last video that I ever make about this. And this is kind of a different type of video because in this video, I want to apologize. I want to apologize. So first, I'm going to give a special shout out to Emma in the UK who sent me a message yesterday. And well, we got to conversing in the DMs yesterday because she was telling me about this situation with a vlogger by the name of Zaza. I think her name was Zaza. And basically, she scheduled a retreat and she scheduled a retreat, a women's retreat. And so basically, this girl was writing to me because I'm also doing a women's retreat in April of this coming year. But basically, this woman scheduled a women's retreat. And the day before, I believe, people were supposed to fly out. One girl called the hotel in Sedona, Arizona, or wherever it is they were supposed to go, and the hotel was like, "Oh, this was canceled a month ago." And people had paid $1,500. Some people paid $3,000 for a packet for two people, mother daughter, whatever. And she basically took their money. They weren't able to get in touch with her. People had to go to the news, some sort of Catch 'em Harry or whatever. They're like the news at 2 and all this other stuff where they do the investigative stuff. And they confronted the young lady. And after the news people confronted her, 15 people got their monies refunded, and somebody's claiming that 39 people were registered. But I didn't see other people coming back up saying that they had not been paid. They're vloggers who are leading the conversation. And so when I was talking with this young lady, I was like, well, I can't really say much myself because, a few years ago when I was living in my car, there were people who thought that I was scamming, as well. Because like when I was looking and watching the videos, there was nobody that was like, I didn't get my money back from Zaza. I just saw vloggers continuing the conversation like, oh, there are more people. But I'm like, well, if there are more people, where are those more people? And there were similarities that made me think of my situation. And then a light bulb went off for me. A light bulb went off. And I finally realized how wrong I was at the time for continuing to stay in my car. Because I raised the money. For those of you who don't know, I right around this time, so like the anniversary is coming up. I'm having an event tomorrow. This is my first event since the displacement, and so I want to release all of this. I want to go into my event tomorrow just free and clear. I don't know how long this video is going to be because there's a lot of things that are just swirling around in my mind that I want to talk about. So I'm going to emote all of these things. This is going to be the last video that we talk about this. And then I'm going off into my new life, into this new direction that I'm going in. And I wanted to start with an apology because I didn't realize at the time how wrong I was, right? And then there's also a flip side to that apology. So, all right, so here we go. When we were talking about this situation, I realized, because I'd never heard of this person, Zaza, before. And so I thought for a moment, there may have been people who had never heard of me before. There may have been people who gave to my GoFundMe. So basically, I was giving the explanation. Right around this time, in 2015, I decided to go off to California. It was a long time coming. I had a skincare business. I closed my skincare business, and I headed off into Tinseltown with big dreams of producing this show. And when I got out there, when I landed on the ground, my bank accounts had been seized because I had closed my business a year and a half before. But I'd spent some time traveling around Central and South America trying to write my books, etc. When I landed on the ground, I didn't close my business the right way. My bank accounts had been seized. They took everything. And so I landed on the ground with no money. I was ashamed and I was embarrassed, and I stayed at an associate's place until it was a weird situation there. Like she was like trying to hit me up for money, and she knew that I didn't have any, and it was just really bizarre. You know what? I don't. I think that I'll say this, and then I'll move on. I think that there's something about me that I don't want to say there's something about me that screams money, like, oh, Tonya has money. But I think there's something about me that I don't know. I think maybe I have a bougie ear. I don't know. I don't know. But she thought she was like hitting me up for money, and I was like, you know. So it was a really weird situation. So then I ended up living in my car, and one night when I was really frightened, like, because I was like on this parking deck, and the parking deck had motion sensor lights. Like I was really, really, really embarrassed. You know, my father had retired, and I there was a part of me that felt guilty for closing my business because there were so many people who came out to my expos to help me. My father built so much equipment for me, and my father really worked hard to help me get my business off the ground, and my business was thriving, but it wasn't my passion. You know, but it was thriving, it was making money, and it was at that point that I was like thinking about like buying like a warehouse and really going in full throttle. But there was a part of me that felt like every day that I was living in that life, a part of me was dying. And like the real part of me, like there was a part of me that could have gone along in the skincare business. Like there's some people who love skincare. Carol's daughter loves skincare. There's a lot of people who, and I met her. And when I met Carol's daughter, Lisa Price, I knew that there was something different about us because she had like a passion for it. It was something, it was, but nonetheless, so I ended up living in my car. It was like I was out there, and like the motion lights had come on, and I was frightened. I was scared because I didn't tell my family. I didn't tell my father what had happened to me. I didn't tell anybody what happened, and I was just enduring this silently. And I was going through the process of mourning this friendship that I had with my one of my closest friends. We've been friends for years, and he deserted me in this situation. And it's like, you know, you never really know a person until you're sick or you're back, or you lend them money. I'll say that. I'm not even gonna say when your back is up against the wall. You become sick or you lend people money and you find out who your real peoples are. And I found out that the person who I considered my closest friend at the time wasn't who I thought he was. And I ended up living in my car and just dealing with this situation, the shame of it, all on my own. And that night when those lights came on, I was like, you know what? It dawned on me something could happen to me and nobody would know. I would just be a news story. And then I wondered how would my family even get word of what happened to me, because I'm all the way out here in California. I didn't tell anybody what was going on with me. I just end up a news story. People disappear every day. People get hurt every day. People die every day, right? So nonetheless, I turned on my camera and I made a video asking for help. And when I made that video asking for help, there was this outpouring. When I tell you that, you know what, that's it. You know what, I'll say the third way that you know who people are is here when your back is against the wall, when you need help. When you need help. When you're sick. When you lend people money. Or when you need money. I don't want to say when you need money. That was my situation, but I'd say when you need help. When you really need help, not want help, but when you need help. And there was an outpouring. People made videos. They shared my post. I raised $12,000 in 7 days. Or was it 10 days? Something along. I raised $12,000, I'd say 10 days, right? And I had to actually turn off the GoFundMe because people were still giving me money, still attempting to give me money because I had given so much of myself over the 8 years that I had been on YouTube. I'd given so much of myself. Like I really poured myself into my videos. And when I needed assistance, people showed up for me. They showed up for me. And they showed up for me because I was in crisis, because I was in need. And when I received the money, there was this part of me that still felt shame. I didn't know how to receive. First of all, I had no idea. I thought when I put it up, I may get $2,000, right? I had no idea. I had no idea. I thought maybe I'd get $1,000, $2,000. I got $12,000 and had to turn it off. I don't know how much would have come in, but I didn't know how to receive. I felt I felt embarrassed for needing. I felt embarrassed for wanting. And I felt disgusting for receiving. I felt disgusting. And so when people started making videos about me, about how I was scamming and all this other stuff, because what ended up happening is I received the money and I felt horrible. And and you know what? It took all the way up until this year when I had some problems on my RV park and they were trying to put me off of the park. And people on Facebook I didn't even have to come to YouTube. People on Facebook came together for me. They wrote letters for me. They called corporate. They hit these people up. I'm telling you, 1 hour and a half later, what I could not do on my own, these people got it done. They got it done an hour and a half later. I've been trying for 4 days, I believe, and they wouldn't listen to me for 4 days. They weren't trying to hear me. An hour and a half after these people launched their attack or their assault or whatever you want to call it, the campaign, an hour and a half later, things flipped and changed around. So when that happened, right, there was actually because there were people who were actually wanting to send me money then, and I was like, no, I don't want money. The letters was even I didn't even feel that people would show up for me in that way, you know. And so people were like, they wanted to send me money, etc. And so I created a way for people to just they just wanted to give me love offerings. And there was a person who came out who attacked me for allowing people to give their love offerings. And something clicked in my mind. It clicked. I wasn't a bad person for needing. I wasn't a bad person for accepting. When we talk about the programming, right? We get taught that we get taught that you're bad if you need welfare, you're bad if you need food stamps, welfare queens, and the project, and you're a sponger, and you're a loser, and you're all this stuff, right? Like I said, I think people think something different about me when they hear me talk or when they see me or whatnot, because I carry myself with so much confidence or whatever. I don't know. I don't think people know that I'm from a depressed area. I'm from the Bronx, in a poorer neighborhood, an underprivileged area, and I worked really hard to get out of that. And to me, I equated money with being a good person, and not having money or needing money for being a bad person, for being weak, for being just I equated having money with loving yourself, not having money as a form of self-abuse in some sort of way. When there's so many other things, so many other factors and moving pieces. So nonetheless, I had a hard time receiving. And when I received the money, the only thing I say that was more frightening than asking for the money in the first place The only thing more frightening than that was the thought of having to ask again because I ran out of what it is that they originally had gifted to me. And so my mind doesn't work the way other people's minds work. I told you guys, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 13 years old. My mind doesn't work in the same way that I can't ask other people's minds to work the way mine does. My mind doesn't work the way other people's minds do, who were indoctrinated into life hour for wage work. Me, the way my mind works, I don't think of I can give a life hour for this work. My mind sees money as a tool for leverage. From my very, very first business when I was 13, well, my second business, I sold candies in school. And I would take the money down to the Bronx Terminal Market and I would get these lollipops and candies in exchange for the money. And then I would take that and sell it to people so that the money didn't become money that I spent on a thing. It became something that I leveraged and then flipped into more money that then was leveraged, and it just grew and grew and grew, right? So when I received the money and I didn't know how to receive, and I was afraid of not being able to get out of the situation, I did not use the money to make myself safe. As a matter of fact, I'll say this out loud, something weird happened inside of my mind. When I saw that I had that much support, I felt invigorated. I didn't feel alone. One thing that I will say is, and that I'll say it's different between Zaza and me, is I had weekly conference calls with the people who gave money. With the GoFundMe, you get everyone's email addresses. I contacted every single person. We had weekly calls, and we talked about what it is that I would do with the money, how I would use it. And so the idea that we came up with is that I would get an Airbnb, because the last thing that we wanted is for it to perpetuate and then I run out of money. So the thought was get rent a house, turn the house into an Airbnb, rent out the rooms, enough rooms that I can have a space for myself to live rent free, and then the other rooms would generate enough income for the rest of the house. That's the way my mind works. And that's what we came up with on our weekly calls. And then that fell through because when people found out that I wanted to do the Airbnb, because I was forthright, they raised the price so much that it didn't, because I needed to rent at least a 4 bedroom so that the other 3 bedrooms, because it's very expensive in LA, so that the other 3 bedrooms could carry the cost of a 4 bedroom house. And it had to have like enough bathrooms and enough privacy, and it had to be modern enough to be able to demand a higher price, and it had to be in an area that would be able to bring in those types of prices. But nonetheless, and the thing is, when I did the displacement for the Dream Diaries, I talked about this stuff in the videos because I was producing a daily video. Because one of the things that, and I'll say this, one of the things that I said, like on my GoFundMe page, one of the things that I wanted the money for was to get out of my car, but also to produce the show. So I was producing the show as I was working on getting out of my car. And so we had weekly meetings. And so the difference is that with the people who gave to her retreat, they were not in the loop. There were, I don't know what was going on with what it is that she did or what other people do who scammed or whatever, who disappeared. Because at one point I ended up taking down all of my videos and leaving YouTube anyway. And so like looking back on all of this in hindsight, I can see how to the public it may have looked like a scam. And then I can also see how there may have been people who contributed monies who may not have been on the mailing list, somehow may not have gotten the emails somehow. Well, everyone was on the mailing list who gave monies through GoFundMe, but there were people who mailed monies. Maybe they were not in the loop. And so maybe there were people who fell through the cracks who did not know. But I will say this, and one thing that you will see and know, right? There were no people who gave to my GoFundMe. There were no people who gave money to me, who created content against me. There was not one person. And listen, I had a huge channel at the time. I was getting 1 million views a month. There was not one person. Another thing, this morning I was watching Lovely T, and she had like an hour-long video where she was going into this whole Cardi B situation, blah, blah, blah. And she had all of these receipts and stuff from people who knew the hairdresser from back in the days and from 2013 and this, that, and the other. And this is one of the things that I said. This is part of the reason that I didn't feel to speak out against this. Another thing that you will notice is that there was not one person who knew me and who knew my situation and my circumstance, who came out to speak out against me. There was not one person who had personal contact with Tonya who came to speak out against me, not one. Now that would either have to be a miracle of some sort, or I control and own YouTube, Google, Lipstick Alley, Madame Noir magazine, and all of these other places, Huffington Post. It would mean that I had control of these sources so that nobody came to speak out against me. The people who were speaking out against me were people who did not know me. People who were angry that how dare this Black woman feel that she's worth this, that, and the other. Somebody who he himself had attempted to do a GoFundMe and his didn't produce any money. He couldn't raise money for whatever it is that he was attempting. And his anger towards me led him on this rampage, this campaign rampage against me. And another person who hated Black women and decided that he would launch this attack, even though this person actually, it's like wow, while you got one hand snapping over here, the other hand slaps you. This person was raising money for a project that he never did, never completed, never said anything about it, and started raising more money. He launched this campaign against me, and there were things that happened behind the scenes that I needed to take care of regarding that situation. Because you guys know, you heard said that I'm from the Bronx, right? And one thing that I learned about being from the Bronx is you don't talk, you do. You don't talk, you do. So there were some things that were going on that I needed to handle and take care of. And I didn't need to talk about doing it. I just needed to do it. So I asked that question, where are they now? That's all I'm going to say about that. And I know that you can see from my face that I'm very serious. Where are they? So I took down my videos. It's like, I'm going to say this because I want to wrap up the video because the video is becoming lengthy now. And I think I've said most of what it is that I need to say. I know once I stop the video, I'm going to be like, oh, there were things that I could have said, right? Listen, just thinking about that whole situation is just so crazy. But I'll say this, right? I'll say this. When I thought about that girl's situation and my situation and anybody's situation, and I wondered to myself, I thought to myself, well, how would anybody know that you are or weren't or aren't scamming? How would anybody know whether or not somebody else is or isn't, etc.? Because according to what it is that I saw, and I only looked into it very briefly, so forgive me if there's not more information that I know, that Zaza girl, she'd had a career half a decade long online. I'd been online for 8 years at that point. And I was like, why would I throw away an 8-year reputation over a scam of $12,000? If you guys knew the type of money that TKO Skin was making, you would not think that I would ruin my reputation for $12,000. That you wouldn't think that at all. So nonetheless, right? Nonetheless, how can you tell whether or not somebody is scamming? I think you just, I read energy. Those of you who know me, you know what I'm talking about. I read energy, and we're all intuitive. I think we just have to really just kind of connect to ourselves and just get a sense for a person, because there are people who I'm sure walked away from that situation really thinking that maybe it was a scam. There are people who wrote to me and were like, yeah, I jumped on the bandwagon and this, that, and the other. And I feel bad for them. I feel bad for them because all it took were some strangers to present some information that would allow them to attack, gang up on, and bombard against a person who was already in a very dire situation, you know? But then the big question is, why didn't I get out of my car? Why didn't I leave my car? And that's the part that I want to apologize about, because not only did people give money, but people also gave prayers. They invested emotionally in the situation. And I want to apologize to those people who weren't in the loop, because I didn't talk publicly about what, like I said, I do. I don't need to talk about it. I do. I did what I needed to do. I was talking to the people who did give and who were in the loop. But then for the rest of my base who may have had an emotional connection to me, who were putting out prayers or who were worried about me, I continued to persist in a dangerous situation. Living in my car was dangerous. And when I look back on it in hindsight, if I knew that it was going to persist for almost a year, I would have done things a lot differently. I did not know that it was going to take as long as it did. Because first we were looking for the Airbnb situation. And then after that, I decided to find an RV. And then the RV, so like the Airbnb situation, I said took up until about May. So from February we had March, April, and just looking for an Airbnb that would suit the needs. And then by the time May came around, I started, there's something happens when you're not eating well or sleeping well. Things just I didn't have the fight. The fight was starting to dwindle down. Then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna find an RV, and then let's just trying to figure out what type of RV I was going to get, and then when the very first RV that I was going to get, that deal took, it was May, June, I'd say June, about June to July, right? Because they were like, I was like looking for the RV. Then when July came around, it had been 7 months I was in this situation, and my spirit just I started to shift. It was like I went from being this abundant person with really big energy and big aura. And I'll say this and then I'll come back to the big aura, because of the part of me on the inside that felt that I was bad for being in need. I truly do feel that I attracted a certain energy to me. I feel like I attracted a certain energy to me. And not only that, I felt like when people were attacking me, there were parts of me that felt like I deserved some of the attack because I was a bad person for being in need. So I'll just say that, and then I'll just go back to my energy. So I went from a person with big, abundant energy and aura to a person who started to identify with the poverty. And then things just started to shift. I started to change. Like, how you have these connectors in your brain, and the synapses and the neuroplasticity. And I just started to become rewired for the poverty. I was under a tremendous amount of stress. I wasn't really sleeping. I started to identify with the lack. And then December 22nd, oh my gosh, that's the day of my thing tomorrow. I'm so glad I'm doing this video today. So December 22nd is when I finally got the keys to my RV, and it was like finally. But by then you guys saw the transition, the transformation that I went through. And I shifted, and I continued to shift and shift and shift up until where it is that I am right now, where I can take a step back from that situation. I can now see how wrong I was to keep myself in danger, to not talk to my family. But see, if I would have opened up to my family knows me. They know how headstrong I am. And I would not have left California because I went there to follow my dream. And like I said, there were things that my father did behind the scenes without letting me know. And he actually was doing things to help take care of me. And I did not know. But nonetheless, I changed. And I will say this, right? For who it is that I am right now, I'm so happy and I'm so grateful. Like, there are 11 people who are signed up for my thing tomorrow, right? And the old me would have been like, oh, just 11 people, right? But the new me is like, wow, I have 11 souls coming to me tomorrow. And we're going to have an intimate gathering. And I'm going to give them all that I can from the inside and pour out onto them and love up on them in that room and really help facilitate change in that room tomorrow. The old me wasn't happy with 100,000 views on a video, 10,000 views, 2,000 views. The new me, I'm okay with 400 views on a video. I am not the person that I was before. There's something about always having. And I know that the universe prepared me, because if you could see what is going on behind the scenes right now, if you could see the abundance, it's like, when there's a dust storm and you see the little bit of dust just start kicking up, but you get this sense in your being that a storm is a coming. If you could see what's going on behind the scenes with the little bit of the plumes, the puffs of abundance that are just like, are you ready, Tonya? Are you ready, Tonya? Are you ready, Tonya? And I feel this storm of brewing. And that's part of the reason, like Emma, when I spoke to her last night, she was like, you have nothing to apologize for. Those of us who rock with you, and we understood and we feel you and we felt you. However, I am at a point where I can step back and see. Like right now, I'm back in my hometown. I was off kilter. My energy still had not recalibrated in California. Here, I'm breathing deep. I feel completely safe. I'm around family. So it's like men who get divorced and they don't want to give their wives half and all this other stuff. It's crazy because family, like that cohesive family, a home really helps you be more productive. It changes and it shifts something inside of you that allows you to be able to make and create more income, etc. But nonetheless, I'm back at home, I'm reattuned, my energy is vibrating at such a frequency that I just, you know what, listen, I have been abundant and I have been broke. And the brokenness really has taught me a humility. You guys know I hated the word humble before, but it's taught me a humility, a gratitude, an appreciation, which I did not know before. Like I said, I wasn't, if 23 people came to an event, I was like, oh, why can't I sell out an arena? Nothing was good enough for me before. Nothing was good enough. Nothing. And you know what? You can't really feel the full bouquet of life. Listen, life is a miserable, miserable place when you don't have gratitude. When you have gratitude, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, look, my hair is not done. I got on my oil on my face. I'm crying on camera. My t-shirt is all baggy. I did not buy new clothes coming to New York. I came with a small little luggage, wearing the same thing over in my videos, and I'm okay. I'm okay. I feel grateful. When you have gratitude, the little things, God, they feel so good, because I know Listen, I know what it feels like to have big things. And you know what? I'm glad that this happened now because I am prepared to really appreciate the abundance. If, listen, if what's happening to me now would have happened to me before, I would have been impatient. Where's more? Where's more? Where's more? Where's more? But now I'm like, I appreciate what I have. I appreciate what's coming forward. And I am ready. I am ready to truly, because listen, I'm telling you this, and I'm going to get out of the video. It really did not matter how much abundance I would have gotten before. I would not have appreciated it. Like when I tell you, listen, if I told you in this video how much TKO Skin brought in per month, I will say that there are people out here who are working for a yearly wage. And what it is that they make in a year, TKO Skin would bring in a month. This is what I'm telling you, but I didn't appreciate it. It took, and listen, the displacement didn't even do it for me. I didn't shift from the displacement. And in the book that I wrote, The 6-Step Shift to Self-Love, I talk about really shifting. The displacement did not do it for me. I did not shift from the displacement. No, I'm not going to say that because in the displacement, the shift began. But every single thing, every single stage, every single step, but listen, it did not come easy. It was not free. I had to really dive in for those lessons. Like this video right here, this video can come back to bite me in the butt. People like, yeah, look, she admitted it. And that's okay. I release and I relinquish. But I know that before, if the abundance would have come the way that these plumes of abundance are coming now, I would not have appreciated it. The shift came. What has prepared me for that level of abundance is the shift that took place from really diving in and doing the work. Because listen, I'm a life coach, I'm a hypnotherapist, and I coach and I work with people. Well, I'm on vacation right now, but before I would work with people daily. And I had one client who was in her 70s. She had not dated in 30 years. She hadn't dated in 30 years. And it was 35 years because she stopped dating in her 30s. She was about 35 when she stopped dating. And she had not evolved. She had not grown. She still had the same mindset. The same issues that she ran away from when she was in her 30s were the same issues that she was now having to deal with in her 70s, in the autumn of her life, the winter even of her life. So it's like change doesn't come easy and it doesn't come cheap and it is not free. You have to give your own sweat equity. You do. And I had to dive into those lessons. Like when I spoke to Emma last night, I could have been like, whatever. I know I ain't got nothing to apologize for. But when I take a step back and really look at the way things really, like if we just look at the facts, the fact of the matter is I received $12,000 from a GoFundMe because I was living in my car. But when I received that money, I did not get out of my car. I stayed in my car until the end of that year. Those are the facts. There are reasons why and all of these other things that come up, but those are the plain, hard, honest facts. That's it right there. And so it takes a lot for me to step out and see you and say, you know what? I can see how that looked like a scam. I can see. But I can assure you it was no scam. I was living in my car and if I had to do that all over again, I would not put myself in that dangerous position. But I'm not the same person now that I was before I went into the car. That person who was shamed and who was, in a way, I was self-abusing through that situation. I didn't trust the abundance. I didn't trust that because like hotels out there, $100 a night, They were $500, $700, $800 a week. I had enough money to stay with the $12,000. I had enough money to stay for what, 4 months? And then after the 4 months, what would have happened to me? I didn't trust that the universe had me. I felt like I had to do what I needed to do to make sure that I was okay. I didn't trust the abundance. And you know what? I had to go down. Listen, I had to go down into the depths. And I'm glad that I did. I came out on the other side of it. And I'm happy with the person that I am today. You know, it's really crazy. It's so interesting. I remember I went to this seminar once, and after I say this, we're gonna get out of here because I feel like I've said everything that I needed to say. I went to this seminar once that was talking about past life regressions. I believe it was with Brian Weiss, the infamous Brian Weiss. And he was talking about how we come into this life, or it could have been with Neil Donald Walsh. I'm not exactly sure, but I was at this seminar. And basically, he was saying that, we come into these lives and we forget who it is that we are. And we're like, oh God, why have you forsaken me? Why have you left me? Why have you done this to me? But we forgot the question that we asked. And the stuff that came up in our lives was the answer. I wanted to be an author. I wanted to have a show. Now, when I closed my business, I said I wanted a show. I wanted to write books. But who it is that I was before was not an author. I was not a show host. Who it is that I am now, I am an author now. I had to go through those things. I had to be brandished in the fire. I had to be hammered like steel. I had to be hammered, brandished, burned, scorched, smelted, and born anew. I had to go through those things to be the woman that I am right now. Like, even if like my energy is so different. It's so different now than it was before. And I am glad to say that I am the woman. I am my future self. When I look back, when I look back, I am the woman that was giving the message back to who it is that I was 4 years ago. When I told myself, listen, just trust me, go to California. And when I went to California, I ended up in my car. I said, what is this? What is this? And the voice that said, you know what? Turn on your camera and do the GoFundMe. And when I asked for help and it turned into a big brouhaha and people were attacking me, I said, what is this? And the me that stayed in my car and continued to try to make a way, I needed to go through all of that to get to up until when they were trying to kick me off of the RV park. And like the manager of the RV park was like, something was wrong with this person, but that person is no longer there. And it's like, it took up until that for everything to come full circle and things to be like, and I'm not done yet. There's still a woman of the future. She has 10 books and a PhD. What is it that I need to do to get to be that woman? I don't know if I want to go back and through the fire, Saya. I don't know if I want to do all of that no more. So listen, future Tonya, just let me know if I can. Listen, because listen. I love you all very, very much. We haven't hugged in quite some time, have we? Let's hug. Yes. Okay. Go out there and love one another. But most importantly, what? That's right. Love yourself. Love yourself. Love yourself enough to trust the process. Love yourself enough to trust your higher self, because there is a greater plan. There's like, if you just imagine a room with a lot of different, like, you know how you look at the inside of a clock, all of the different turning pieces, and just imagine a lot of different pieces just turning all over the place. And you can't see, like, you're inside of a room, you can hear some of the clicking, maybe not, but there are a lot of pieces turning. There's somebody right now out in Egypt, Morocco, Spain, Italy, Africa, South Africa, China, Russia. There's somebody out there who is on their way to you in some sort of way right now. There's an experience that's on its way, and like all of these pieces are moving and you just can't really see how it all lines up. So just trust the process. Trust the process. And even if, you know what, even if you get scammed out of some money, I would say, you know what, with that girl Zaza, these people were paying $1,500. Even if you get scammed out of that money, I would say, you know, there's a lesson, like the lesson for the women who went to the news and spoke their truth and spoke their power regardless and came forward and all of this. For another person, it was seeing that other person come forward. For another person, it was whatever the case may be, but there are big lessons in all of this. With my GoFundMe, people gave small amounts. There were just a lot of people who gave. They gave smaller amounts, a lot of people who gave smaller amounts. So I would say, even if if you're scammed for a smaller amount, believe me, the karmic debt that that person who is scamming has to pay is far greater than what it is that you paid financially. You can consider anything that you lose in a scam, just consider that your tuition in the school of hard knocks. The person who is scamming you has an internal bankruptcy that is far greater than what it is that you've lost in money. Trust me on that one. And on that note, you know what? I'm going to get out of here. I love you all very, very much. Go out there and love one another. But most importantly, what? That's right. Love yourself. Tonya Tko, and I'm out. Peace.